One of the things that you will do if you're insecurely attached is replay roles that you've been playing since childhood over and over again. You will literally create these self-sabotaging experiences in your relationship that are keeping you stuck. And it's sort of you're creating some of your own suffering. And you do this subconsciously, and you actually seek out partners that enable you to play these same roles that you've been playing over and over again. So when people come to me, a lot of times they are interested in changing their partner because they're in pain in their relationship, and they're like, if I could just get my partner to change, I would feel okay and everything would be better. Or they look at ways that maybe they need to do some work so they can show up better. But one of the things that's really interesting and really fun is to actually show them how they are continuing to play the same roles that they desperately want to break, but they still are setting up those scenarios over and over again. Leslie Wells, Connection Coach. I help individuals heal, thrive, improve, repair, and connect deeper by looking at things through an attachment lens. And couples work is probably my favorite because it's just, there's so many dynamics that come into play. So if you are someone who grew up constantly getting the messages over and over again of rejection, maybe you are a dismissive avoidant, or you're someone who really falls avoidant on the attachment spectrum, and the message you got from your parents over and over again was rejection, right? Like you were dismissed, you were criticized, you were punished, and so you carry this deep wound of rejection. You will go into your relationships and you will continue to play that same role over and over again. So what that looks like is you get into a relationship with somebody, but you constantly keep them at arm's length. You're pushing them away. You're creating space. You're creating distance. A lot of times avoidants will get into this place where they're doing self-sabotaging behavior. They're breadcrumbing, they're distracting, they're getting into unhealthy things, whether they're really self-sabotaging with affairs, pornography, substance abuse. But essentially, they create this environment where finally the person says, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. And then they confirm for themselves that message that's always been on repeat in the background playing, which is, if I wait long enough, this person is going to reject me. Once they see me, I'm going to be rejected. And so it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Same thing for the person who is very anxious or the fearful avoidant. So fearful avoidance, because they carry this fear of being betrayed, of people not being able to show up well for them, they create all of these scenarios where they self-sabotage and create an environment where people are not going to show up well for them. So they will do, goalpost moving, where they constantly move the goalpost and people are jumping through hoops to make them feel safe and cherished and seen, heard, and understood. They will lash out in order for people to feel their pain, which essentially creates distance and pushes people away. They can be very critical and controlling, which of course creates distance in a relationship rather than connection. And so ultimately the person gets fed up with these behaviors and these protest behaviors, and they decide, like, this isn't for me, I'm done. And it creates that self-fulfilling prophecy that, see, someone is not going to be able to show up well for me. They are going to betray me. They are going to eventually leave me and abandon me. Or you have a very anxiously attached person who has this endless bucket of needs because the messages that they got when they were young is, people are going to leave me. So I need to make sure that I am deeply tied to this person and cling to this person so that I will not be abandoned because I can't be alone. And so they do that. They cling to the other person and they create this atmosphere where the other person feels like they can't breathe. There's no space. They can never, ever be enough and meet this person's endless bucket of needs. And so they basically decide, I'm not for this person. I can't give them what they need. And to some degree, that's true. And so then they do leave. And the person says, hey, there it is. I knew I was going to be abandoned and rejected and left alone. And here I am alone. And so again, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you are struggling with your attachment, if you have negative patterns in your relationship that keep coming up over and over again, I promise you that you are probably reenacting a role that you played from your childhood based on your childhood messages that deeply needs to be examined, reframed, and torn apart so that you can see it for what it is and see how you are impacting the relationship based on you continuing to sort of play that role in the drama that you've always played. It's like you're an actor that has never gotten off the stage. So if you are someone who finds yourself in these situations, it's probably you and your partner. And I work with people all the time, and that's one of the really cool things about coaching is letting them be able to see where they continue to create that narrative and create scenes for it to continue playing out. If you do not examine your attachment style and look at it and start challenging things, those same negative dynamics are going to happen over and over and over again in your current relationship and all the relationships that come after.